Hubert Raymond Allen, Dizzy, DFC, was born on the 19th of March 1919 and was a Royal Air Force officer and commentator on defence matters. He fought during the Battle of Britain and was a flying ace of the Second World War, scoring a number of victories. Following his retirement from the RAF as a wing commander in 1965, he wrote several controversial books and articles on air power. He criticised RAF staff policies before and during the Second World War. In contrast to the conventional narrative account, he maintained that during the Battle of Britain, naval rather than air power was the crucial factor. His opinions clashed with mainstream opinion of the RAF's role and with the views of many air historians, but his viewpoint received some support and indeed significant attention. Allen was commissioned into the Royal Air Force in 1939 and was an undergraduate from Cardiff University, where he read economics. After training, he joined No. 66 Squadron RAF in mid-April 1940. Originally part of Fighter Command's No. 12 Group, covering the Midlands and East Anglia, No. 66 Squadron took part in the air battles over the Dunkirk evacuation. During the Battle of Britain, the squadron joined No. 11 Group at Kenley for a week and later served at Gravesend, West Malling and Biggin Hill. Allen had 7 confirmed kills and was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross. His list of flying achievements ranged from the 19th of June 1940 with 2 other pilots damaging of a Ju-88 to the December 11th 1940 destruction of a Messerschmitt Me-109. Allen was wounded in the right arm on the 14th of February 1941 after being ambushed by Messerschmitt 109s, and he crashed at Biggin Hill. Allen's nickname Dizzy reflected his ability to escape a tight situation by executing an aerobatic flat spin. He was shot down and wounded on a number of occasions, once by the well-known Luftwaffe ace Werner Mulders, and again as a result of an air-to-air collision with another RAF pilot. He married Anne Mary Cecilia Smith Pigott in July 1942 at Marylebone, London. In 1978, Allen recorded his experiences as a combat pilot for the BBC programme, in which he expressed high praise for fellow pilots and ground staff, but was critical of the radar controllers and the higher echelons of the RAF. His attitude towards those pilots who refused combat was harshly uncompromising, though such feelings were not uncommon at this time. After the Battle of Britain, he became No. 66 Squadron's commander at the age of 21, succeeding Atholl Forbes, with whom he later collaborated in writing 10 Fighter Boys, 66 Squadron, RAF. This was a collection of first-hand accounts of participants, originally published in the middle of the war, 1942. Later in the war, he became air advisor to the 1st Airborne Division and then tactics and gunnery officer to No. 12 Group. Post-war, he commanded a squadron of Gloucester Meteor jet fighters. He was air defence advisor to the Dutch government for 3 years and was awarded the Order of Orange Nassau. Allen was a skilled pilot, having moved from piston engine propeller-driven fighters to the newer generation of jets, including the English Electric Lightning, which had a speed exceeding 1,000 miles an hour. He planned the RAF's coronation flypast over the Queen's balcony at Buckingham Palace in 1953. During the later Queen's Coronation Review, he arranged for 168 aircraft of varying types to fly over the Queen at RAF Odiham in a series of coordinated formations despite appalling weather conditions. As wing commander, he was personal staff officer to the Chief of Staff, Allied Air Forces Central Europe, and after his retirement, a member of the Corps of Queen's Messengers, a Foreign and Commonwealth Office courier service for the delivery of important diplomatic documents around the world. He retired in January 1965, later stating that his reason for leaving the RAF prematurely was concern over an RAF plan in the mid-1960s to snatch the fleet air arm from the Navy. He said, "I knew from my study of military strategy that the demise of the fleet air arm would render ineffective the Navy's role in preserving the sea communications on which Britain utterly depends." He wrote a book, The Legacy of Lord Trenchard, questioned the need for an independent RAF and the rectitude of air staff policies before and during the Second World War. The provocatively titled Who Won the Battle of Britain, first published in 1974, followed shortly afterwards with a critique of RAF structure, leadership and doctrine before and during the air campaigns of 1940. Controversially, Allen stated that RAF Fighter Command's 11 Group was a defeated force at the time the invasion was most likely to have been launched. He argued that the Luftwaffe did not lose the Battle of Britain's air campaigns, reasoning that the Luftwaffe's damaging attacks on airfields containing vital sector stations gave them air superiority during the critical period of late August to early September, preceding the change of focus of the bombing of London, after which it dropped thousands of tons of bombs with negligible losses. But the Luftwaffe did not win it either, as it lacked the training and equipment and therefore the potential to sink enough of the Royal Navy's warships, especially the large capital ships. Allen maintained that it was the deterrent effect of the Royal Navy fleeting being that was the decisive factor in Adolf Hitler's decision not to launch Operation Sea Lion, the planned invasion of Great Britain. The air battles for sure were important, but were not fundamental. Having been made aware of the naval problems by the German naval staff, Adolf Hitler took Luftwaffe Chief Hermann Göring's advice and switched to a night bombing campaign against civilian centres to try and force the United Kingdom into a negotiated peace. He concluded that the Battle of Britain has been glorified to the point of hyperbole by British historians. Allen's case for the primacy of sea power in 1940 is not unique. Derek Robinson and Jeff Hewitt have argued similarly, seeing the Royal Navy as the main invasion deterrent in 1940. Allen was also very critical of Air Marshal Sir Hugh Dowding's conduct during the battle, particularly for allowing the brunt of the fighting to fall upon the embattled 11 Group, but has also argued that Dowding's earlier achievements had been ignored in the failure to make him a Marshal of the Royal Air Force upon retirement. Dowding, of course, was sympathetically portrayed in the 1969 blockbuster feature film The Battle of Britain and died in 1970. He was undoubtedly regarded as a national hero and was officially acknowledged by the erection of his statue at the RAF Chapel, St Clement Danes, a few years later. So Allen had controversial words to convey. However, it was never his intention to deprecate former comrades whom he had already praised, but it was still difficult to attack popular perceptions of the RAF's role, at least at the time he wrote, without seeming to attack the venerated few. Allen's views were given prominent coverage in the Times during the 44th and 48th Battle of Britain anniversaries. Publicising these opinions in such a prominent way did not endear Allen to former RAF colleagues or to the general public. Even his obituary writer considered Allen's views eccentric, not appearing to understand why previous editors took them as seriously as they did. Wing Commander Allen died on the 31st of May, 1987.